just go around the room and we can have a open opportunity to connect. So I'll go ahead and get started with Nokamantra. Feel free to join me, and if you want to see on mute, that's fine as well. Namo Orientanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ariyanam, Namo Vajayanam, Namo Loa Sava Savanam, Eso Pancha Namo Karo, Sava Paupanasno, Mangalanam Jasavisim, Paramam Have Mangam. Thank you so much, everyone. With that, I'll pass the mic to Dhanesh.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, whichever part of the world you are. I'm extremely excited as well as kind of quite, I would say somewhat emotional about this event actually. So my own background, I'll briefly introduce myself. Why this? There's always this why behind it, right? It doesn't happen automatically. So my own background has been in IT technology, born and raised in Mumbai, India. Spent 20 years in working in corporate. And then 5 years ago, I decided to quit my corporate career completely behind and started my own, or started to think about getting on my own. And I was thinking, it's not that, I mean, being a technologist, the canvas is wide open, right? I could do from blockchain cryptocurrency to making the next game to creating something which is AI machine learning to anything, as the landscape is completely open for technologists. And then during the journey of identifying what is it that I wanted to do, or how can I align what I wanted to do with the Jain values that I have understood and learned, some of the Jain principles, particularly around sustainability, were kind of coming together as jigsaw puzzle right in front of me. And I said, this is it. This is exactly what I should be doing, trying to apply principles of Jain philosophy and the parts of which actually talks about sustainability, the way world sees it today, in terms of the 5 forces of nature, as well as all the living being, and how can that be made into a proper business with an economy behind it, and not just as a social or non-profit thing, but actually a highly viable business model behind it. So with that, I embarked upon a journey with my own couple of startups, helping, mentoring, advising quite a lot of startups which are into similar space, but they don't even know that they are actually applying Jain values of sustainability when they are doing that. And what I mean by that, for those of you who may have come across this anything and everything which is around sustainability, it is typically around energy, water, forest or nature, all the vegan, so basically animals and other insects and other things, and also very little these days on and water, of course, which is a very big thing, very big topic. And a little bit these days also about the earth mining and the earth's rare resources, right? About some of the natural minerals of the earth's resources, which has been misused and overused. And when I map those things to very simple thing, which we have seen throughout our life in Samayik, Pratikraman, and everywhere, is a Jain's responsibility is protecting 6 forms of life. Okay, we read it over and over, again and again. We recite those in our mantras many times, but we never saw it that these actually 6 forms of life are the same thing, right? It talks about Prithvikai, which is the earth, Vayukai, which is the air or the pollution, climate, right? Teukai, which is the energy. Then the Apkai, which is the Teukai is sorry. So okay, my mapping is a little bit misplaced at the moment, but all these exactly the five forms, which is the earth, water, fire, which is the energy, all the vegetation, nature, and everything to do with animals and human being as well. Okay. Now, all those principles have been with us forever. It is not new. Whereas the world has woken up to the whole concept of sustainability somewhere around last 5 years, picked up a lot more. They've been talking about it for last couple of 20 years, let's say, couple of decades. But only in last 4 to 5 years is where many of the government corporate initiatives have started to divert a lot of money into this area. And with that, when I started to go out and looking at these latest innovations, newer technologies, whether it is in biotech, whether it is renewable energy, whether it is in water space, whether it is in solving nature's or forest's biggest problems, or even as simple as vegan ice cream or plant-based ice cream, for example. I never ever see, or I rarely come across Jains in that space. Okay, very rarely. Of course, reasons could be plenty, no doubt about it. And somewhere just around summer this year, Professor Chris Miller, who is with us today, he gave me an opportunity to speak with a small group of he invited me to speak with a small group of his students when he was doing a summer class with Jaina. And the topic was Jain entrepreneurship. And we happened to speak about exactly this subject. And I learned during that conversation that many of us have not been able to see or not developed that perspective. And that's where this idea of coming out with a community together who cares about sustainability and applying these Jain values of sustainability for making a better economy for the future, and with a proper, in a business way. And this is how all it started. It is not a kind of, how to say, a top down with a vision or strategy thing. This just out of kind of internal inspiration and internal motivation. And as I said, I feel quite emotional that suddenly, just out of in just a few months, there are quite a number of individuals who are equally passionate about something of this sort in doing something with this in the future. And yes, the ecosystem is big. No doubt about it. There is a lot which has to be done, and there is a lot which can be done. We see a lot of great doctors, medical professionals, or pharma experts or pharma companies who are run by Jain, but we don't see that many Jains who are doing anything for animal testing alternatives. So organ on chip, biotech companies, right? To say by doing this, we can actually reduce cruelty on animals or produce products at the end of the value chain which are not tested on animals, right? And this is the space where we want to kind of start to inspire, support, and lead the Jain community towards. The community is quite, I would say, still reasonably big, even if we are still, in terms of numbers, we are quite small, but it is still reasonably big, very well educated in general, quite open-minded in that way. And I think there's a lot which we can do together on this front. And that's my opening. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Back to you, Zani.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dhanesh. And I think that was so inspiring, hearing Dhanesh's, passion and inspiration for the sustainability and how as Jains we can, move our community forward. And so with that being said, we'll go ahead and introduce our panelists, and these are wonderful members that have been gracious enough to help support our event. And so what we'll do is maybe spend 2 to 3 minutes per person. If you just want to introduce yourself, share who you are, maybe your professional background, or anything you like, right? What inspires you, what makes you passionate about sustainability. And so after we welcome and introduce these members, we'll go ahead and open up the networking floor to the audience. And so the way we'll do it, because I know we have a little bit of a larger group, we'll allow others to raise their hand. And so what you can do is on the bottom of the Zoom screen, there's a reaction, and you can click raise hand. And essentially that'll cue you on our list. And so we'll just go down the list, and then we'll allow you to introduce yourself and share anything you like. So if you want to introduce yourself, share any comments. And then after you're done with your comments, we'll allow 1 to 2 minutes for anyone to react to it, and then we'll go to the next person. And then once we go through a few of that, we can go through discussion questions as well. Dhanesh?
Can I just add one small thing quickly?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
So there's a small, impromptu, let's call it challenge. Anyone on the attendee today, we are more than happy to give you 30 seconds to 1 minute to pitch your idea today. Just, you come out with an idea, right away, or it might be brewing in your head for a long time. Go ahead and pitch today. Okay, just speak about it. Elevator pitch, as we call it, right? And yeah, it will be fun. I'm telling you, it will be a lot of fun.
I love it. Let's do that. So, okay, great. So let's go ahead and start by introducing, our panelists. And after that, or actually while we're doing that, feel free to start raising your hand. And so you can join the queue and, we'll pass the mic to you and you can introduce yourself as well. Once again, I encourage you to kind of put yourself out there. I know some of us are a little bit more introverted, especially in these big rooms, but I can tell you that, within the Jain community, we're all here to help each other. We're all here to support each other. And this is really just an open space. So think of it as a safe zone. We're all here just to meet each other and make new friends and connections. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with Parveen Ji, and then we can follow that by Hina, Anand, and then Ashish. And then we'll, while we're doing that, please raise your hand and we can call on you as well. So Parveen Ji, if you want to, spend a few minutes to just introduce yourself, share who you are, and then we'll pass the mic to Hina. Oh, Parveen, I think you're on mute.
Jai Jinendra, everybody. It's great to see all of you on the screen, and especially congratulations to Sunny to start this Global Jain Network and bring our community together. It's really great initiative. Really, thank you for doing this thing, and Dhanesh for thinking of sustainability. I mean, we have been talking about it for several months now. I think in terms of the subject of sustainability, obviously, Dhanesh talked about it. Well, first, let me give you my background. I'm in San Francisco Bay Area, actually in San Jose, California. I've been in America for, I don't know how many years, but I arrived here in 1975. Like all of us at that time, did my PhD in nuclear engineering. Then I've been working after that for about 20 years in nuclear engineering, and then about 15, 20 years in information security, just other side of the spectrum. Retired in 2014 because I wanted to pursue my philanthropic activities more actively. I've been involved in philanthropy, particularly Jain-related subjects for a long time because of the inspiration from Acharya Sushil Kumar, my Guruji. We built a temple in the Bay Area, and then after 2014, got more rigorously into this thing, actually had the opportunity to write a book called An Introduction to Jain Philosophy, which has become very popular on Amazon and the universities in America. And then along with that, education has been very important. So we are initiating new endeavor in education. We'll talk about that some other time. Coming back to sustainability, if you look at the whole concept of sustainability derives from the idea of compassion and ahimsa. I think what we're talking about sustainability is compassion and ahimsa towards environment, ecology, animal life, and everything that sort of we consume or we relate with, we interact with. But then there is another part of sustainability or compassion, which is the corporate life itself. And that is something I can talk about, having lived in corporate life for a long time. I think in the corporations, even after doing all these things, we have been ignoring the rights of more than 50% of our populace. Okay, that relates to gender rights, that relate to racial rights, that relates to all kind of. I've been participant in those myself, having lived the corporate life itself. So I think we need to bring that awareness as well. And more importantly, we need to go outside of Jain community. We need to bring these great principles of ahimsa and compassion to the outside world. I mean, I can go on, and I know Sunny mentioned just a couple of 3 minutes or so, but I think these areas are very important ourselves. I mean, just simple example, how do we treat women or people of color in our corporate life? I mean, I can cite numerous examples where we have ignored it. I was at EVP at McAfee, and I was unofficial part of the business ethics committee. And there were almost a couple of cases every week related to these kind of things. And I hate to say it, but majority of time they were ignored. They just said that we just sit on it and it'll go away. So I think that is another aspect Jain community can talk about it, because to us, racism and gender separations and all that never existed. Mahavir started this mission of bringing everybody together, and we have lived our life. We are supposed to live a life that way. I think that is another area our community ought to pay some attention to bring this to notice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Parveen ji. I think really important, topics and thoughts, especially regarding Jains and, speaking about business ethics and how as Jains, we need to have these considerations as well. So thank you again. With that, we'll pass the mic to Hina. And yeah, we'll just do a few minutes because I realize that we do have a larger room. And also if people can start raising their hand as well, please feel free to do so. Actually, Dhanesh, if you want to add anything.
Very quickly on the woman and gender, what Parveen ji just touched upon. I mean, it's only now there's many of the VCs or the startup ecosystem is waking up to women in entrepreneurship, women in technology, women in science, and these kind of topics, right? This is just one more example of the values that we have been sitting on for millions of years. It's only now which is getting modernized and kind of being brought to the modern society, and we have always been kind of shying away from it, saying, oh, it is kind of outdated principles, but actually this is where the world is actually going. So what you said, Parveen ji, is actually what is happening these days in reality.
Yeah, very quickly in 1996, when I started my first company, I was told an Indian cannot be the CEO of a company.
Yeah.
This was just about 30 years ago. Look how far we have come already. And
diversity and inclusion is now at the center of the policy everywhere.
Yeah.
Even for many board seats, now there are people are saying we have to have a certain number of women in board. Without that, the board cannot exist. And only very recently at COP26, after COP26, there were like pictures. All the men were in the gray and black suit. There were no women in there. And then everyone is like sending hate messages that why COP26 just completely failed. They spent millions of dollars in Glasgow just last month, and people see it as a failure because there was hardly any woman representation in there.
Yep.
So anyway, don't want to drag this topic too much, but yes.
Let's continue on just so everyone can get a chance to connect today. So we'll pass the mic to Hina. Hina, please feel free to introduce yourself, and then we'll pass the mic to Anand.
Hi, my name's Hina, and I'm from London. My professional background is I'm an accountant. However, recently I was resigned from my role to pursue something into what I'm passionate about. And obviously I'm a Jain, but I'm also very heavily into veganism. And I think both of them go in hand, really, like Parveen was saying. So yeah, and I'm extremely passionate about the food side as well and sustainability, that side. So I'm hoping to sort of pursue something to do with food. And I'm hoping that this network team may be able to give me some tips in the future. But yeah, no. So yeah, veganism and Jainism, I think, go very well together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hina. I think great points. We'll go ahead and move the mic to Anand. So Anand, please feel free to introduce yourself, and then we'll pass the mic to Ashish.
Thank you, Sunny. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anand Mehta, based out of Toronto, Canada. And as a new immigrant to Toronto, Canada, literally over the last 6 years, and going up the corporate ladder, I've realized that some of the principles that have existed with us, right, are very, very applicable in the corporate sector as well. However, most of us have not attempted to even apply those principles, right? So we are always at the crossroads where business ethics and Jain principles and sustainability principles are always at an intersection, right? As you kind of rise more on the upper ladder of management, business ethics and business questions almost are driven by some of the value systems that you hold, right? And I'm a strong believer of that. This value system has been existing with us for years. The Western world has taken note of it over the last 30, 35 years, and here we are kind of attempting to retrieve and apply those principles. So I'm hoping with this particular forum, I get obviously the chance to meet someone, great personalities here, but also get an understanding of how these principles can be applied for either business, corporate, or even in your day-to-day life. So thank you, everyone, again.
Thank you so much, Anandji. We'll pass the mic to Ashish.
Hi everyone, Jai Janendra. Thank you so much, Sunny and Dhanesh, for inviting me as well. So my quick background is I was originally born in India, but I've spent the last sort of 30 years or so in the UK. So I'm a qualified chartered accountant and internal auditor. I've worked for PwC, E&Y, and Citigroup. And for me, sustainability and green investments goes almost 20 years back when I was at university, and I actually did my thesis on case for green investment, and it's always been a part of so my professional career. And I'm really happy that more of the large organizations now are almost waking up in the last sort of few years to this concept of green investment and sustainability, whereas I think for a lot of Jains, it's been part of our culture and heritage for centuries. So it's great to meet everybody and to connect. I'm on LinkedIn. I'll put it on the chat if you want to, feel free to connect. One of the projects that we're working on the side is to look into a private equity structure for investing in sustainable businesses, and particularly from sort of the Jain background. But it's obviously not restricted to it, but the idea is to encourage more sort of entrepreneurs from the Jain community to come forward, especially in a way that they can have a greater impact in terms of sustainability on the world. So please do connect, and yeah, very interested to hear the views from all the people attending today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashish. And then I realized, Dhanesh, you didn't have a chance to introduce yourself. So if you like me, you can just share a few words about who we are and our background. And then for those that have just joined, this is our Jains and Sustainability networking event. And I'll just quickly refresh the room. This is a event that we've been talking about for a few weeks now. Really our way to connect Jains, like-minded Jains, within the sustainability space, whether you're currently in the space or you're just interested in learning more. This is something that we want to do regularly, and really we're just leveraging all these new technologies and the ability to connect beyond our physical barrier, physical borders. And even within this room right now, I can say that there's Jains from at least 4 different countries being represented today. So I think it's an incredible moment for us, and as a Jain community, as people interested in sustainability, and just in general for what's to come. So with that, Dhanesh, if you want to introduce yourself, and then I can go do it as well. And also, I'll just add one thing. In the chat, a lot of us are actually introducing ourselves in there as well. So please feel free to share your LinkedIn, share who you are in there as well. I think it's a great way to connect with others. And whenever you send a message to someone, you can even say that, hey, thank you for connecting with us through our sustainability networking event. And that's, I think, enough to meet new people that way. And then finally, we would welcome all of you to raise your hand. We want to give you a chance to introduce yourself as well. So after Dhanesh and I introduce ourselves, we're going to open up the floor to the audience. So just raise your hand, and the way you can do that is just clicking the reactions on the bottom right corner of your screen, and you can click raise hand, and that will queue you up, and we'll just go down the list that way. We would welcome you to show your face, but if not, you can also keep it on mute. We're still welcome to connect with you. So Dhanesh, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. So Dhanesh Kothari, based in Switzerland. Been in IT for 25 years now. Spent first 20 years working with big corporates, the likes of Accenture, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, heading the global teams with 100 people working for me, mostly in the financial services, large scale technology platform development. And now I'm on to my second technology startup, which is mainly for finding out where can you buy sustainable products, and for business procurement, sourcing of sustainable products. And in addition to that, I also mentor, advise high-tech startups, mostly with the impact or sustainability at the core of their solution. I'm part of some of the accelerator incubator programs and on the expert assessment panel of Solar Impulse Foundation, which is founded by Bertrand, who did this solar plane all over the world. So that's my background.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Jai Janendra. My name is Sunny Jain. I'm based here in Houston, Texas. Professionally, I have a MBA degree from Mays Business School with concentration in finance. Recently graduated, so I'm currently in the space of, seeking new opportunities within corporate finance. Within the, my social, life, like as a hobby, I am part of the Global Jain Network. So, we're a group of collective of Jains that are aiming to connect Jains around the world. We want to create spaces. We want to showcase Jains. And in the last 6 months, we've actually connected over 13,000 Jains, in terms of across social media platforms. Some of you may have attended earlier events, and it's been just a wonderful experience overall. So, really grateful to be here. In terms of sustainability, I think my interest, similar to Hina, it kind of came through the transition towards veganism and learning about how our diet and lifestyle can impact the environment directly. And so I think, two documentaries that really changed my, outlook on this particular topic is Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy, learning about how, the animal agriculture industries are destroying our planet, whether it's in our oceans, depleting our oceans. We talk about plastic in the oceans, the killing of the byproducts of dolphins, whales, sharks, in the pursuit of killing fish. And then, in Cowspiracy, when we talk about climate change, we talk about deforestation, pollution. So it really opened my mind into how much overlap there is with Jainism, with our diet, and then with the with environment in essence. So just a little bit about me. And so, thank you again for, kind of hearing me out. And so I'm, essentially, waiting for others to raise their hand. But if not, one thing we could do is, for those that are kind of on our mic, if it's okay, we'll kind of pass the mic to you to, okay, perfect. So let's do that. Let's start with Ritishji. And then, others, please feel free to raise your hand and we can kind of pass the mic to you. So what we'll do is, and Dhanesh, feel free to correct me. So we'll ask everyone to just introduce yourselves, share a little bit about who they are, and then share any comments or questions they have. And so if you want to share, anything that was said earlier, if you want to make a comment about it, if you want to share why you're interested in sustainability, or anything that's on your mind, feel free to do so. And then once you're done, we'll allow anyone in the room to react. If they want to agree with you, if they want to add additional comment, we'll give like 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll pass the mic to the next person. So Ritishi, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Global Jain Network, for organizing this event and all the organizers for organizing this networking event. So I'm Ritesh Desai and currently pursuing marketing analytics from Pace University, and in my 3rd semester right now. And so I have been into marketing, and I was in China for like around 3 years, from 2016 to 2019, and currently into marketing and looking forward to different aspects. Like I've been working part-time and also actively involved in different Jain groups such as JJC and which one was that? Yeah, Jain Jito. I've been involved with them, and I've been based in New York, and it feels great to connect with other Jain members and connect with them. So when I came here last year, the Jain community here is large, and they have been helpful. So it feels great to connect with other people. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ritesh. And likewise, we're so grateful for you to be here. And you mentioned JJC and Jito, and those are 2 organizations that are doing incredible work within our Jain spaces as well. And so I have a few friends from JJC that have really helped a lot of college students, in North America, and the transition from, moving from India to America and kind of doing the onboarding. And I mean, they do incredible work. So just want to share that. If anyone wants to share any comments, maybe 1 or 2 people, and then we'll pass the mic to Kruti. And feel free to just unmute yourself. So very informal format.
I mean, very quickly, when I was initially giving that introduction, and one of the things is, yes, there's technology, and where am I using technology? Similarly, marketing is a skill and as well as a talent. But what are you exactly marketing, right? Now, when you apply the same skill, same talent, same principles for something which is value driven, the whole thing changes completely, right? So marketing, let's say, a polluting vehicle or marketing nuclear weapons, for example, versus or marketing drugs which have been actually not made with all the ethical principles, versus your marketing products or services which are far more on the ethical and value chain, right? And it's just reapplication of your own skills, your own qualification, your own talent into something which aligns with these values, right? And this is why we are here to explore this kind of way of thinking and opening this perspective. Yeah.
Well, if anyone else wants to make any additional comments, or Tishi, if you want to share anything else, please feel free. We'll allow like maybe one or two more comments, and we'll pass the mic to Kriti.
Yeah, so like we being students, when we go out with friends and like having dinner with friends, and people ask about why you don't eat onions or potatoes, or so it would be great if there are more events and or more I can like help students join this group. And if so there are times when like we know why we don't and everything, but like we are not able to answer in a much satisfied manner, or like to convince them why we don't. So if there is something on that, so maybe that would be helpful. Yeah.
The challenge that you just mentioned about, I've spoken to many vegans in the last few years, and some of them have been vegans for like a couple of decades, and they face a similar challenge. What we as a Jain or those who follow Jain diet and some of the rituals strictly, they follow the similar challenges as well. In fact, at some of the workplaces, there have been bullying. The case of bullying, actually, right? Particularly against vegans for their eating salad or sandwiches. But yeah, it's a good topic, Sunny. I think we might want to address that in one of the next forums to see this in more positive perspective. Yeah, it's a good subject, I think.
So in my last internship, I was the only vegetarian person, and yeah, even I faced the similar situation. So maybe
I'll share a few more things slightly later in the conversation. Let's go ahead with the round of introductions. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, no, I think it's a really important topic, and like you said, there isn't any legal protection. There's legal protection for other groups of people, but dietary isn't one of those. And so I've heard similar stories that we can talk about. But thank you again, Ritishi. We'll go ahead and pass the mic to Kruti. Kruti, thank you for waiting. If you want to introduce yourself, share who you are, and then if you want to make any comments, ask any questions, anything you like, feel free to do so.
Jai Shlendra, everyone. I'm Kruti. I'm based here in Zurich. I came here around 4 years ago. The principles of Jainism kind of made me move to veganism, because earlier it was only like no onion, garlic, it is enough. And then I had this big realization. So I'm almost vegan, though I continue to use at times some jackets which I had purchased earlier, but yeah. Professionally or educationally, I am a chartered accountant. I also have an MBA from IIM Kozhikode. Just wanting to shift my gear into not doing, just instead of having personal life, which is, connected to veganism or Jainism, I would also like to work in a space that's supremely sustainable or that is connected with my values. So very happy to meet everybody out here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kruti. If anyone would like to add any comments, feel free.
Jai Janendra, Sunny, and Global Jain Network, and Dhanesh, thank you all for holding this event. I just wanted to say that this was something that, as I got to know Dhanesh about a year ago, a little over a year and a half ago in Switzerland, I started to realize that Jains were trying to institutionalize their values. And From my own side, as I was growing up and as I was working, I'm also a CPA, and I was working in public accounting. I was with KPMG, Moss Adams, several big firms. And I remember one day looking out of my office over the Pacific Ocean here in California and thinking that something was still missing, and that many of the institutions that I was supporting through my work were actually sort of destroying the very beautiful thing that I was staring at over, which was the environment, and wanted something more. So anyways, that led me to eventually do Jain studies and realize the values that the Jain tradition has, and never really thought about how they could be institutionalized. And now, after having met Dhanesh and Parveen and others, and seeing how an education in Jain studies can really kind of influence people to want to think differently, I really see. I was talking to Dhanesh about this at the beginning of the event. Such an incredible opportunity for some kind of think tank like this that brings all of the Jain community together to really have actual concrete, especially for young Jains, concrete ways of entering into forms of entrepreneurship and business that are actually doing something positive for the environment rather than destroying the beautiful world that we have around us. So anyways, thank you for having the event, and Jai Jinendra.
Thank you so much. Parveen, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think Chris has touched a very good point. As I said, with all the experience, we can keep talking. But one thing I wanted to bring out is what I've seen. Many times we talk about applying Jain principles, Jain values to our corporate life. But then when somebody, and it happened with me, when somebody asked me, why do you want to be vegetarian? My immediate thought was, I grew up with that. But that's not adequate. We have to have our own knowledge. So that is what we have to look at, that also, that our Jain community knows little more than I grew up with in terms of explaining our values. There have been numerous examples. For example, whenever I attended, even as the executive or CEO, any dinners or lunches, I used to ask my admin, either it should be a vegetarian dinner, or I will excuse myself with some reason or something to not attend it. I walked out in a meeting with the president of Korean Power Electric Company, one of the largest power corporations in the world. I just excused myself that, hey, I just told them I cannot take the order, for example. So I think, but the point I was to make it from education perspective, we have to educate our own people so that they can explain our values. I'm not saying everybody should be a scholar, but at least know enough so that we can explain our values when we are asked.
And I'll just make an additional comment, because I think this is, especially if you're in the West, North America, or in Europe, I'm sure this is a common challenge that we face in the corporate world, where you're at the workplace and you find out there's nothing to eat, right? Because this is a very common thing. I've personally been through it many times. There's a few tips and tricks that we often talk about on how we can effectuate systematic change within the workplace. This can go for any type of system organization, but if we're talking specifically for a workplace, what I personally do is sometimes I'll actually call the event host before the event starts. So for example, I'll send an email to HR to say, hey, I see that we have this event. Thank you so much. Are there any vegan options, right? And so for me, vegan options, which means no animal products, so no dairy and no meat and no honey. And so sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, we do. There's a few other vegans as well, because this is becoming more like a prominent lifestyle. And sometimes they'll say, no, there isn't, I'm sorry. And so in that case, I don't feel bad. I'm like, at least I asked. So now that I've planted a seed of awareness, right? And so now in the next event, when they're hosting and they're trying to plan out the meals, hey, there's that one guy that had emailed me about vegan meals, and he's emailed me 3 times now for 3 different events. So maybe we should have something, right? So I've personally seen change happen just by even asking for it. And this is both at larger companies as well as small companies. I would actually say I would say even smaller companies, you can effectuate even faster change, right? Because it's a smaller group of people. And so, one person asking could make a difference. And so just want to kind of like let you know that, you're not alone. Yeah.
And Sunny, if I could add just one more thing. Many times we don't tell people that we are vegetarians or we don't drink alcohol and all that, feeling that they will feel or they will sort of make a judgment on us. From my experience, what I've seen is when I told my colleagues that, hey, I'm a vegetarian, I don't drink, actually their respect went up, honestly. And many times they were meat eaters or they used to consume, alcohol. When they had meals with me or dinner with me, they would go vegetarian as well. So I think we can influence that indirectly.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful. If anyone else wants to make any, I think Kriti, you want to, yeah.
I wanted to make comment because this recently happened with me. I wrote an email to HR saying that, could you please stock up on some oat milk? And it was also I also included some lines, the company has diversity and inclusion in its strategy now. And this should be, this will make me feel included and not feel like being left out and this is my right, like in small nice words. So it made a difference, and they're not just me but three other people, I think, who are also vegans, and it helps them too. So it just takes an extra effort. I think you need to do it, or take at times maybe that person doesn't like me anymore, but okay, I made a point and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and think of it this way as well. When you make, because obviously this is stepping out of your comfort zone for a lot of people, right? And so if you make that leap of faith, right, and you go outside of your comfort zone and you make an email or you say a comment, you're not just helping your own situation, you're actually helping those that come. Every time I make a decision to email HR about, hey, is there vegan food or options at this event, I'm helping the future vegans that will be wanting to, give up animal products from their diet, and they may be a little bit more shy. Maybe they're not as outspoken and loud as I am, and we're helping them as well. We're also planting a seed of awareness, so people that aren't aware of our lifestyle, they can learn that, hey, that maybe even I can do it, because we've seen it many times that people have been influenced positively by just being around others that do that. So just want to say that. Bhavni, I do want to give you a chance because I know you had raised your hand. So Bhavni, if you want to introduce yourself, and then I see there's a few hand raises. So I think this topic is something that, I think it resonates with a lot of people. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of go in the order of the PTR order. So whoever raised their hand first, we'll kind of go in that order. So we'll do Bhavni, followed by Anand, followed by Nupur, followed by Anjali. And then in the meanwhile, feel free to raise your hand to join this queue. So Bhavni, the floor is yours if you want to introduce yourself and make any comments.
Great, thank you, Jainendra, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here today, and thank you for setting this up. I did put an intro in the chat, but just to reiterate, I'm a policy advisor at the Treasury, so I work for a UK government department, and there I've been working on sort of COVID schemes. We sort of did the furlough scheme and things like that, but on the side and personally of trying to adapt my lifestyle, becoming a bit more aware of sustainability and the people that I'm following. I'm going to be admitting but on Instagram, there are people that are actually changing their lifestyles. So for example, in the beauty industry, people are kind of using Ayurveda as a linchpin to kind of think about sustainability. So, and also other products that are available. And for me, there is a certain transition that I'm trying to do, and hopefully I can find the support here within this network just to think about sort of veganism. Everyone kind of goes through this in stages, and we're all sort of learning with what is available here. And I'm understanding well, in the UK, we're a bit more, it feels a bit more advanced because our canteen actually does have vegan options at work. So it feels like there is a slight inclusion here. But it has been a struggle, and I know that particularly. So we just used to just bring my own lunch in, you know what it's like, and then you're kind of like the only person that doesn't sort of venture into the canteen with your own food. So you kind of feel a bit excluded. But also, Parveen Bhai, you mentioned the diversity and inclusion, and I think we've all sort of found that there's a recent response, particularly after like certain movements like last year, certain things that kind of brought things to the fore, what happened in the US and then worldwide resonations about that. And I've tried to sort of delve in and put myself forward into these sort of strategies that are going on at work. But I was also part of a team that did this race disparity audit within the government, and that was just bringing together all the information that the government holds. As you know, different departments do surveys, and it was quite stark. Some of the, the data, and data is really powerful. So, we should use it as an advantage to kind of think about what is the narrative, what is this saying, and particularly learning about the intersectionalities. There's race, there's gender, there's where you grow up, there's all that sort of linked in, and education. Luckily, like sort of most of us here kind of got a decent education, that sort of background, but there are others that don't have as much. So just thinking about that as a whole holistic way, and sort of, yeah, I'm glad that we're all like linked in here today just to talk about these things.
So much about me. If anyone wants to respond, please feel free, and then we'll pass the mic to Anand.
Thank you, Sunny, and everyone again. I just wanted to kind of touch base on two topics. One is Chris said, about the institutionalization of values, and I agree to it wholeheartedly. But as Jains, we have almost through decades, we have institutionalized values by means of religion, right? That's been the focal point where our values are institutionalized, right? Well, with this forum, I'm hoping we kind of transfer the landscape and change the theme to kind of also applying those into business and corporate worlds, right? Which is something we hope that this forum does. And speaking of dietary achievements, I in Canada have had the privilege and the unfortunate side of things when I said I'm a Jain, it was 5-6 years ago that I was ridiculed, right? What is Jain? What is vegetarianism, right? There's nothing like it, right? How can you exist without eating non-vegetarian, right? And it almost being ridiculed. But fortunately for me in Canada, the landscape has changed so fast. The theme has been more vegan. The adoption of vegan culture is faster than most of the countries in the world. So now people have always taken a backseat. They've attempted to understand what background we come from, right? What values are guiding us, what values are influencing. And some of them are scientifically true, right? For example, something as simple as don't eat after 6 o'clock or don't eat after sunset kind of has been scientifically proven after years and years, which our gurus told us years and years ago, right? And something that has been adopted as a lifestyle for most of them. So somehow you see this cross intersection of values, and you realize that these values always exist as part of our culture, right? The West is kind of putting it through a more different way, but they're more kind of trying to institutionalize and channelize that by means of saying differently, but the same theme are coming up again and again, right? So in terms of that, I think all of us feel very strongly about workplace cultures being changing, where they're adopting to our needs and our requirements. And I think that's a small win for us in a lot of ways, in individual pockets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anandji. We'll pass the mic to Nooper. Nooper, welcome to the stage. If you want to introduce yourself, share who you are, and if you want to add any comments to the previous conversation, or if you want to make any new comments, feel free.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jai Jinendra, everyone. And it's really nice to connect with everyone through this platform. Thank you to the organizers for setting this up. So currently I am in Atlanta, and I am going to be graduating with my master's in economics from Georgia Tech in like less than 10 days now. So I am also a chartered accountant. I worked in India for about 4 years before coming to the US. In my professional life, I've never really been working on sustainability, but I want to incorporate that. I mean, my interest has kind of, I was introduced to the environment in school. You had a subject and we were studying that. And I have kind of, been sensitive to that right from school. And I read more about impact investing when I was involved in the real estate sector through work, and I just saw real estate developers just taking away money, and even the Supreme Court not being able to do much. So I thought there has to be a better way to channelize capital and use it in a better form. So that kind of got me interested in impact investing, and that is so related to sustainability as well. So I want to pursue a career which is on the intersection of finance and sustainability. So yeah, just looking forward to connecting with more people. And I know a lot of people, all of you all here have significant experience of integrating sustainability in your professional life. So for someone who's just starting out, any sort of tips or tricks would be really helpful. So thank you so much.
Feel free to unmute and share your thoughts. Danishi, I saw a message if you wanted to share a few words about impact investment.
I'll reserve it to slightly later. Let's let's go ahead with other attendees. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
It's extremely close to my heart and brain and everything. And there's a lot which I can talk about. Of course, I will keep it to as short as possible for today. I've been exposed to that subject a lot actually. And that was also one of the reasons why I left my high-flying career at Swiss banks. I mean, nothing wrong with what they are doing, but I saw morally certain wrong things, let's say. And I'll speak about it slightly later. Yeah. And there's massive opportunities out there. And look for this, even if you're just a new career starter, I can tell you, you can actually do a lot. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Nooper, for joining the stage and sharing, your thoughts. And if anyone else wants to make any comments about how they're incorporating sustainable practices into their professional workplace, we'd love to hear that. We'll pass the mic to Anjali. So Anjali, if you want to introduce yourself and if you want to make any comments related to the existing conversation, or if you want to add any new comments, feel free.
Hi, so my name is Anjali. I'm originally from Kenya, born in Kenya, lived in Kenya for about 16 years, and then moving to UK, United Kingdom for about 10 years. And then now currently living in the Bay Area, East Bay for the last 20 years. Thank you for organizing this event and being part of it. Pretty much my interest I'm not really a born vegan, or I'm born Jain, but I'm pretty much a lacto-ovo, so I still consume milk products. And that purely for the health benefits of it. I think my opinion with veganism is to do with having moved here and being married to a spouse who was originally from Berkeley. Berkeley was kind of the birthplace of veganism, and the city itself has introduced a lot of vegan meals that they offer to the public in terms of the prisons, food banks. And being by professional, I'm a pharmacist. I've been practicing pharmacy for the last 24 years. And I'm just generally interested in how drug companies actually manufacture drugs in a more sustainable way, which is a concern right now, since majority of the manufacturers that we receive the drugs are from primarily India, and they're trying to improve their kind of manufacturing practices to support sustainability and climate change for the future. So that's my take on it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anjali, for introducing yourself. And I think it's wonderful to see so many in the UK. So I think the last few speakers were there. I can tell you from the Global Jain Network, that was like one group that we've always wished we had. So most of our Jains are in India, in North America, and Canada. And so it's great to see that there's such a booming population in the UK as well. So thank you again, Anjali. I guess with that, I think we have went through all the raised hands. So if you haven't had a chance to speak, we would love to hear from you. This is really our way to connect with you, and we can only connect with you if you introduce yourself. So and also, once again, those that are writing in the chat, please continue to do so. I've personally just made like 6 new connections on LinkedIn from the chat, and so I recommend everyone to jump in there and take full advantage of this event. We all want to connect with each other, and this is a great way to do it. So wonderful. We're going to go ahead and pass the mic to Nirav, and then we'll pass the mic to Hina. So Niravji, if you want to introduce yourself, share any thoughts on the existing conversation, please feel free.
Thank you for calling me Neeraj. It's nice to get that respect, although maybe undeserved. Anyway, so I am a PhD student in Zurich. I do work which has nothing to do with sustainability. I have no idea what sustainability means. I'm just here to know more about it. I had the pleasure of meeting Dhanesh a few months ago, which was a very nice encounter. I've also had the pleasure of meeting Kruti before. And yeah, so that's kind of my background. So my PhD is in machine learning. So maybe that is relevant for some people, or if people are, interested in discussing about that, I'm happy to contribute to that discussion. But otherwise, I don't have any background in the topics that are of interest, but I'm here to kind of absorb what's going on. So thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Nirav. And I can tell you that we're glad that you're here, because I'm personally learning as well. So I'm learning more about sustainability, what that really entails beyond just like the environment, which is kind of how I look at it. But I know there's a lot more to it as well. So actually, and Dhanesh, if you do want to share like a few words about that topic, like for maybe an onlooker, what is sustainability? Maybe in a few minutes, and then we'll pass the mic to Hina.
Sorry, Sunny, was it on the sustainability or was it on the impact investment?
I guess to someone that is new to the space of sustainability, and so a lot of us may be either new to it or we want to learn more. If you
Sure.
can describe it maybe in like a few sentences, like what is sustainability to you?
It's actually quite simple. One, anything and everything which reduces our dependencies on anything which is coming from animal origin. Okay, and any kind of animals, insects to mammals to birds or anything, whether it is in food, whether it is in scientific products, whether it is in cosmetics being tested on animals, it could be fashion products, it could be anything. Doesn't have to be only food. And I'll extend that topic slightly further after I cover this so-called framework of sustainability. So that's one. Second is the energy, the source of energy itself, right? The pollution and the climate, the air, which is the third part. So energy, which is the second part, whether at workplace, whether at businesses, how much of renewable energy are we using? And how much pollution are we producing by using the source of energy which is being used? Can we start to put that also into our corporate agenda to start to talk to people who are responsible for sourcing energy at workplaces, not just the food items to be stocked in the refrigerator, but also to able to kind of influence that also to them to switch to renewable sources of energy for workplaces or even campuses and whatnot. That's the second one. The third one is the pollution or the air itself, right? And climate, we don't have to speak about it. Tons and tons and tons of initiatives totally on carbon reduction, carbon removal, and reducing the CO2 emission, right? So what kind of initiatives can be taken, whether at home, again, in your own business that you want to set up yourself, or when you're working at your job, what can you do to reduce carbon footprint of your business area, the products or services that your company is producing, the department in which you are working, and so on and so forth. Okay. The fourth one is the water, and it has been kind of said many times by some of the experts, economists, and whatnot, that the next world war is going to be on water. I hope I'm wrong, but that has been said many times. And coincidentally, I'm also invited to a network which is putting together an ecosystem of everything around water together, from public, private to corporate to startups to investors and whatnot. I'm also invited by this group to be part of their extended group now to take this initiative at a global scale with a digital platform kind of thing. And this is also one more very, very important area. What are those initiatives which can actually help save water, reduce use of water, but is for production of industrial products, used for production of industrial products, or whether it is for personal use, or whether it is for something else. Okay, and so this was the and the last one is on sorry, two more. One on the usage of rare earth minerals and the use of land, and how different let's say use or misuse of land is being taken place. At some places in the world, we know that the prices of property are unusually and unjustifiably high, whereas there is ample amount of land which is just lying there doing nothing, which in turn puts a heavy burden on the cost of economy in general, right? And many of us, we know, and then when Anand and Parveen ji talked about immigrants moving to foreign countries, one of our initial earnings goes towards buying a property. Okay, and there's also one more thing: why these property prices are unjustifiably so high, whether it is again commercial, private, or so on and so forth, and what can be done to have reduced dependency on land use also, because again it is exploiting earth resources. Okay, the last one, huge topic: biodiversity, forest, nature, and everything around that. Massively huge topic. Okay, multi-trillion dollars opportunities right now as we speak. People are talking about pumping in multi-trillion dollars only in that one area, just to protect biodiversity and nature and vegetation, nothing else. And this is all completely different from veganism, by the way. It's completely different from renewable energy. This is completely different from water. This is completely different from earth and rare and so on and so forth. Each of these in itself are multi-trillion dollars opportunity right now. This combinedly is where the sustainability is. Now, very quickly, when I touched upon the subject of the profession, how you reapply your profession, your talent, your expertise, and my very favorite subject is two related to the money. There are two. What is the source of your money? Whether it is from investments, whether it is from your company's own company's revenues, or your salary, or could be professional services if you are a freelance or consultant. What exactly is that source of that money again? What kind of products or services is your company offering in the department where you are working? Okay, if you're in a plastic company, sorry, you are actually earning the money from the wrong source. Yeah. The second part is any excess capital that you have, where are you putting that money? What is that money doing back in the economy? So in my plate, I may totally stay away from not having meat. I may totally stay away from not having alcohol. I will never have anything which is harmful. But I put some money in a fund or in a bond or in just particularly those who are exposed to Indian investment in fixed deposits, right? But what do the banks do? They lend money to companies which completely does not align with your own values. And we don't want to even think about it. We never ever want to think about it. And I'm really sorry to say, even gold is actually blood gold. We know, I mean, if you just scratch the surface, you will see how gold is actually blood gold. Okay. And many of us, by our culture and whatnot, have been so much, let's say, attracted towards first putting our excess capital or savings into gold, property, and some of these things, and some of these other vehicles, let's call them, without really thinking through and through where exactly that money is going. We want to keep a blind eye saying, I put my money here, now I don't want to think about it. Now it is not my responsibility if it does any harm or it doesn't align with my values. Okay, and this is exactly the topic of impact investment, Nupur. There is huge opportunity to inspire Jains, many of them all over the world, whether it is in India, UK, US, they have good amount of excess capital. They don't know, they don't even think like this, to actually give them a channel This is what even Ashish was briefly talking about in the beginning. Give them a channel and inspire them from this perspective also. Right. So in my plate, I'm not, in my diet, I'm not doing anything, but through my money, I'm actually causing far more harm than by versus just having that small piece of dairy, or for example. Okay. So this is a very holistic subject, sustainability, as I put it forward. And vegan, our day-to-day diet is one part of it. And orange is one small part of the whole thing.
Thank you, Dhanesh. That's
Sorry,
really
can I
interesting
just
topic.
add something quickly? I think, Dhanesh, you're making some really, really excellent points here. And I think, like you mentioned, veganism is just one small point of it, but also there's a vegan outside of a dietary perspective. So, for example, I've been running a badminton club for something like 7 years. And I don't know if anybody knows, but in badminton, there's like basically two ways. If you want to do professional badminton, you play with a feather shuttlecock. And we in our club for 7 years have never ever used a feather shuttlecock. We've always gone on plastic shuttlecock. So initially, when I initially set it up, some of the players were coming saying, "Oh, you'll never be pro." And I'm like, I don't want to be pro. I want to have a good game. I want to sort of become a bit fitter and also enjoy playing a game with my friends. So that sort of club, we started as 10 friends, has now gone to something like over 200 members. And we've never ever used feather shuttlecocks in our club ever. And even some of the new players who come and join, who say, "Oh, I only play with feathers," once they come and play with us, they basically have stayed with us and they've adopted to playing with plastic shuttlecocks. So I think veganism and sort of reducing harm to animals, you can apply it in many aspects of your life, not just through diet. And especially some of the younger members here today who are kind of almost starting out their journey in terms of careers and professions and studies. I think you guys are at a really good point in terms of where the world is right now. There's so many options in terms of careers to go into sustainability, ESG, which frankly, those options weren't there for many of us 20 years back, 30 years back. So what I would say is do your research, go and join organizations which really are in line with sort of the values that you want to really carry with you. So I've put on, for example, one of the banks we've dealt with, which is a sustainable bank, on the LinkedIn, on the Zoom chat. And they try and provide that extra transparency of where they're lending their funds to. So that, you know, people, we all can make those kind of choices now because that information is available. But unfortunately, it needs a bit of digging and research to get that. But yeah, it's out there, and hopefully a network like this will help further promote such opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I realize we're about 15 minutes over the hour. So if anyone hasn't had a chance to speak, we want to just, welcome you to just go ahead and unmute. And, if you want to just introduce yourself, just so you have a chance to speak. And Dhanesh, if there's any other conversation topics that you want to kind of throw out there as well. I know there was a conversation. I like, there's two things that really stuck out to me. One was regarding the impact investing. What is, how, like, the source of our money, as well as what are we putting our money into. I think you articulated that very well and very clearly. And I know, like, we talk about a few, companies that we can invest in, in the financial market. I know me personally, I have a lot of, investments in like companies like Beyond Burger, companies that, Beyond Meat. So companies that are doing things in the vegan space, and I'm doing it out of passion. So, I'm just doing it just because I want to do it. But I'm sure there's, there's ETFs that are, essentially focused on, sustainable and for my purposes, vegan completely, areas as well. And so I think that's a really interesting topic as well. Because I know most of us probably have money in just mutual funds, and ETFs, and we don't really look at it. And I would hate to like think that money, is being used to support animal exploitation. Like that would bother me a lot. But I know that is probably what's happening, right? Because these are, they put a little bit into like all these large companies, and I'm sure like McDonald's is probably in there, and I'm sure a lot of these companies that we probably wouldn't want to be a part of is in our investments as well. So I know personally, I would probably want to look at that again and see if there's any options where maybe I can do something, maybe move it over to something else if I have that ability. And then, same with like the 401k and like the retirement funds as well, seeing if there's, something there that I can maybe clean it up a little bit. And then Ashish made a great point about like lifestyle. Like it is a lifestyle, absolutely, and it's not just a diet. It includes not supporting, zoos, not supporting aquariums, anything that exploits animal exploitation. So it includes horseback riding. In terms of clothing, this includes not supporting wool, leather, silk. And so it's very much beyond that. And I think the overlap with the environment and, all the other benefits, like the health benefits, are tied to that as well. And so, and so the way and I can just, because I think there's a few comments, I'll just go ahead and share a few thoughts. Within the veganism itself is a social justice movement. It is centered around animal welfare. So that is by definition, veganism is about animal welfare. However, within the social justice movement for animal rights, there are health benefits and there are environmental benefits as well. And so, sometimes you'll kind of hear like that mix up. And I know there's a lot of documentaries that share like the health benefits of this lifestyle and then the environmental benefits. But essentially, it is about animal rights. And ultimately, there's a lot of other good that happens to the world when you go towards this path. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify that definition for those that are either interested or want to learn more. And if you have any questions about the health benefits or the environmental benefits, or even what it even means, feel free to reach out to Dhanesh, me, a lot of us that can kind of give some more clarity on that topic. Because I know it gets a little convoluted because people will go into different aspects of veganism, but it essentially is about animal welfare, and then everything kind of comes with that as well. And so, and Dhanesh, I see you raise your hand, so feel free to jump in.
Be very careful with the concept called greenwashing. Many of these ETFs, funds, bonds, and whatnot, you need to really, again, scratch the surface to really understand which exact companies they invest into, what is the selection criteria, what is the fact sheet. I would say really spend a little bit of time. It's just like when you pick up a residential property to live in, right? You do a lot of homework before you actually buy a property, or even you kind of really plan every single furniture, every single room. I think similarly, you need to really look, scratch the surface for every single investment that you're making in any of these companies, whether it's a direct investment in a company, or is it a stock, or is it some bonds or funds or ETFs. I would definitely recommend to do really a good amount of due diligence and really understand where exactly that money is going. And I think, and this is exactly what Ashish was saying, his firm actually audits some of these kind of ethical or so-called green finance vehicles or structured instruments to see if they are kind of compliant with the values that they're promoting, and they're not promoting the wrong messages, let's say. Yeah, this is the whole subject of greenwashing, actually. Ashish, you want to add something?
No, I totally agree. And in fact, this is what I alluded to earlier when we were talking about sort of setting up sort of a private equity vehicle for sustainable and ESG investments. It's where it's direct investment into companies, so we know exactly where the funds are going. Because when you're doing a fund of fund structure, it's always going to be messy in terms of that opaque transparency through the funds, through the companies, to know exactly where it's going. We're never going to get perfection. We're never going to be 100% clean. That's just not the world we live in. But we need to look at, broadly speaking, are the companies doing what they're saying, or are they just, putting a nice spin on and PR on it? So definitely, I agree completely with your point. I think overall, in terms of the whole impact investment, I think, which has been mentioned during today's session, I think that's a topic all on of its own we can sort of spend enough time on. And especially so, there are options, people want to look at, for example, ethical pension funds. So you don't necessarily have to go to the high street pension funds, which will invest in basically anything. There are many different options available, where you can make a more of an ethical choice. So I think that's just one element, for example. But yeah, impact investment could be a whole topic on its own, I think, for one of these Zoom sessions.
100%. 100%. Yep.
And Dhanesh and Ashish, I think it'll be useful if we can sort of identify some of these funds who are investing in Jain ways and promote those within our community or even outside the community. Because a lot of these investments or the funds or it's very hard to really understand what they're investing in unless you spend a lot of time in research, because most of the mutual funds are so diversified, it's very hard to track everything that they're doing. Or even, I think within this, even on this screen, I see the capability of setting up a Jain fund. This is something that you guys want to think about.
Well, thank you. And I see Shabari has raised her hand. So Shabari, if you want to introduce yourself, and if you want to make any comments on the conversation or any new questions or thoughts, feel free.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes, so I'm Shabari and I live in London. I'm a long-term vegan of 24 years. I became vegan at a local green after attending a local green fair where I actually collected some literature from the animal aid stall, and I learned about the cruelty of the dairy industry and the cruelty of the egg industry, and shortly after that I became vegan. Professionally, I wear a number of different hats. I'm a founder and manager of the World Vegan Market, which is an online market. I help small business owners who sell vegan products or vegan friendly services be seen by an interested and captive audience. I also run the London Vegan Business Network, which is a network of over 1,100 vegan businesses, vegan startups, vegan professionals, those who are looking for a vegan job or who are looking to start a vegan business, students as well. And also I am a green lifestyle consultant where I help people live a greener, cleaner, more healthier lifestyle by helping them choose everyday products that are not only vegan, but also naturally derived and harsh chemical free. I give talks about chemical free living, about veganism as well, and also about being eco-friendly, how people can become more eco-friendly. And I used to do that face-to-face, but now, during the pandemic, I've been invited to online events. So my interest in sustainability has been for many, many years. For my master's degree, in fact, Dhanesh was talking about greenwashing, and my dissertation was exactly about that. It was about greenwashing. It was about how companies are not as green as they portray, and I did a whole dissertation on that. I'm also a published academic author as well. So my research paper that I published after doing my research, after doing my degree, is called Green Companies or Green Companies. Are companies really green, or are they pretending to be? And that was published by Blackwell Publishing, now taken over by Wiley. And I have 300 citations by other academic authors on that. So that's a bit about me.
That's incredible. Thank you. I'm so glad that you had a chance to introduce yourself, because we wouldn't have known that. That is wonderful. I just want to add one comment regarding greenwashing, right? So I'm fairly new in this space. I'm learning more. During my MBA program, we had an MBA project about this one company that wanted to launch a sustainability initiative within their company. It's a global company with operations in I think 7 or 8 different countries, and they essentially are in the oil and gas space. And so the reason they wanted to launch sustainability was so that their investors and their clients would kind of like them, or they'll look at them in a positive light. I think they were in the news for some things that portray them negatively, and they wanted to show that, hey, we care about the environment as well. And so they asked us to create this, do this project and kind of show them how we can reshare this with our clients. But during the project, we realized that it was completely like it was almost like a marketing project. Like there was no like even intention to actually change their operations or anything they were doing. But they wanted to show the clients that, hey, we hired a bunch of MBA students, and we got it like certified by Mays Business School, and we are on our way to sustainability. And that was purely the definition of greenwashing, right? In a very real sense. And so I remember me and my classmates, my teammates, we just sat there and we're like, wow, like, are we really going to do this? And then, we spoke to our professors and our mentors, and we used this as an opportunity to perhaps educate our client about, while, it looks good and other people will like you more, this is also an opportunity to actually reduce costs. Perhaps there's new revenue streams in terms of like the way you're doing businesses. Maybe you can make money from here. And so we actually tied it to operations and tied it to like the finance as well, and shared that, you can actually improve the way you're doing business through a sustainable way. And so I just want to make that comment regarding greenwashing, because we were very conflicted in that project. We were like, wow, like, we want to pass this class, of course, right? But this is really above and beyond. But really, it was just a way to just educate others about it. And I think they were grateful at the end of the project that they learned much as well, and we didn't, we didn't really point our fingers at them and said that, hey, this is wrong, instead we say, hey, this is also an opportunity to try this as well, and actually we have like a whole like portfolio of projects. I'll actually share the link. It's a public document. So you can like take a look at it and see how we've kind of, took a different angle on that project. But yeah, and then if you want to share anything.
Yeah, thank you, Sunny. I've been listening to the impact investments and great topics. And I was just kind of researching on the side. We have socially responsible investments and halal investments. These are some of the portfolios that North America funds have started to offer. I'm sure across the world, these investments are there, right? So in an idea, just a quick elevator pitch for 15-30 seconds, but Jain ethical investment and as a fund, that is something that could be the next big idea, right? And something that we can all kind of look at putting in our dynamics and putting in our thought process. But I believe that is that could be the next big idea, could set the tone for the next round of investments, right? Because if halal investments can be based on certain principles of that community, we can also have something similar with principles based on our community, right? So something I thought I could put it out there. It's an elevator idea. It's just a impulsive idea that has come based on the dynamics of the group, which has been so varied, and it's been a great opportunity to learn. So these ideas are now started to flow naturally without much effort, right? So just putting it out there for the group to discuss and put in some more ideas there or build on this.
That's an awesome topic. I love the idea because I know when I'm looking at different ETFs, so I'm just thinking about ETFs right now, but just in general, I'm looking at different mutual fund ETFs. I'm looking for ways to invest that are aligned with my values. And so so I have invested in like there's like a vegan ETF I put money into, there's a environment ETF I put money into. If there's a Jain ETF that can guarantee that that your money is being allocated towards Jain businesses, Jain startups, and companies that are aligned in the values, so making that third part also very important, that it's being aligned and operated. I mean, I would love to do that. I know it's a lot of work, by the way, to probably put an ETF together like that, but we have some incredible people in the room. So if it's something that can be done, I would love to like talk further.
I think it was Trump has raised something like £1 billion for a social network. So if he's able to raise £1 billion for a social network, I'm sure within the Jain community we can raise something half that for much more ethical and sustainable investment, and surely that will make much bigger impact on the whole world. So I absolutely agree. I think we should be able to do it.
Dhanesh, if you want to, and actually let me just give Dhanesh an opportunity as well. So essentially we want to allow anyone that wants to pitch anything to go ahead and unmute and give it a go. And with that, after that, I guess we have reached about an hour and a half. I think it's a fantastic time for these events. And so we're going to allocate a few minutes for anyone to share any ideas. I think Anand just shared an incredible idea. But if anyone else wants to share anything, and then and Dhanesh, if you want to share any words, feel free, and then we'll go ahead and close out. We have, and by the way, we have posted a link in our chat on how to get more involved, because this is something that we want to do regularly. Like, even if it's like once a month, so it's not something that will like take over your schedule, but something where we can continue to connect on. I shared a link to like the Global Jain Network, where we have events almost every week over a variety of different topics. And we've also sent a link to our WhatsApp group and our LinkedIn group. So we have a new Jain Sustainability LinkedIn group. Really, it's going to be a group that we're going to use to move forward on a lot of these topics. And then we have a WhatsApp group, which is great to just even be involved in our network. So Dhanesh, if you want to share anything, and then if you want to try, give it a pitch, and once again, we're not judging, this is something that, we're all here to support and talk to each other about. Feel free to do so.
I would say if those of you want to pitch, please raise your hand and go ahead with your pitch, and then I will give you a couple of closing thoughts of my own.
Great. And I also wrote in the chat the LinkedIn, the WhatsApp group, and like the Linktree. Linktree essentially will show everything you need to get connected. So it's like one link that has everything on there. So feel free to do so.
Okay. So in absence of any pitches, so two things to close the session today. One is I think there is a definite interest in applying, or let's say screening, different investment opportunities, whether it's private investment, publicly listed investments, or so on and so forth. And let's call it coming out with a Jain score on the top of it, right? So the way there are ESG scores, there's a new scoring, let's call it, right? Because there is, as even Ashish said, there's never going to be a perfect alignment, but how close is it aligned to those Jain values? And Nirav, if you're listening, machine learning, data engineering, right? So this is where the data crunching, machine learning algorithms could be applied in looking at those investment opportunities and being able to say, what is the score or index of that particular investment as per Jain values? Most of the ESG scoring is done through, most of these days, through this data engineering, AI, or machine learning algorithms. So that can be algorithm. Again, now I'm pitching an idea for you, Nirav. As I told you, be careful, I will brainwash you. Yeah, Parveen, please. You're on mute, Parveen. You're on mute, Parveen.
Since you brought up the point of data analytics and all that, I'm on the board of a couple of companies who are doing massive data analytics. Mm-hmm. One of those is called Vector Space. If you want to take a look at it, vectorspace.ai. That company actually specializes in discovering patterns. We are talking about hundreds of TBs of data that they are specializing in. And one of their markets is financial markets. Mm. And we can create a bucket, which is the bucket of our constraints, our ideas that we want to analyze data about a particular fund or particular investment firm or whatever it is. They can elevate all that information very quickly.
Exactly.
So if anybody is interested in that kind of, I can make introduction to the CEO of that. As I said, I'm on the board of that company. And the other one is called Falconry, that is doing a lot of data analytics on industrial applications. I don't think we can apply it here, but that is for industrial applications. But this one is doing some work in financial markets, if you want to take advantage of that.
And now you see, again, I'm slightly extending the pitch idea, right? You create the software, you sell it software as a service, and there you go. That's your business. That's your fintech business right away.
Yep.
Right away, it's a fintech business. Right? Yep. So this is how the ideas come. And then, as we spoke in the beginning, the ecosystem is there. Parveen Jain mentioned he could help with a few things. I could probably help with a few things. Ashish could help with a few things. Nupur. So we have the people, at least even in this small room of like 20, 30 odd people, who can actually contribute towards something like this to become a really viable business idea at the end of the day, not just something out of values or passion, but actually even converting that into a business idea, right? And that's my like a kind of really last closing remark. And this is something I said a few days ago. What is my hidden agenda behind this? Okay, it is simple, one line: one Jain unicorn a year for next 10 years. Okay, that's it.
That's a good objective.
Sunny, we are done for today.
I think we're good. Thank you everyone again. We'll go ahead and close out this room. Jai Jinesh everyone, and we look forward to seeing you in future events. Thank you everyone.
Jai Jinesh.
Thank you.
Yeah.